a counselor. The light passed over the room in long, deliberate strokes, lingering on the beds. I flattened myself against the mattress, barely daring to breathe. The beam traced along the wooden walls, then slid toward the opposite side of the cabin. Footsteps crunched outside as the intruder moved, circling the structure, peering into every window as if searching for something, or someone. Seconds stretched into what felt like hours. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I could only watch, frozen, as the beam of light continued its slow, methodical path. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, the flashlight switched off, and the night was silent again. It was only then that some of the other boys stirred, whispering groggily as they became aware of the eerie stillness. One of them had a watch and checked the time. 4 a.m. Not a counselor, not a prank. Someone had been out there and they had been watching us. We stayed awake until the first hint of dawn. The moment the morning bell rang for breakfast, we bolted from our cabin and found the nearest counselor. Frantically, we recounted everything. How someone had tried the door, the flashlight, the lurking figure in the woods a few days before. The counselor's face turned grim. He led us to one of the head staff members, where we were made to repeat our story. And that's when we learned something even more horrifying. During the night, another boy from a different cabin had left to use the bathroom. As he was walking back, he saw someone standing at a cabin door, trying to pick the lock. His description was chillingly familiar. An older man, dirty clothes, scruffy gray beard. The camp was immediately shut down. Within hours, a bus arrived to take us all home. The once promised month-long adventure ending abruptly in fear and confusion. Years later, I found myself unable to shake the memories. My curiosity got the best of me, and I started digging through old online archives, searching for any trace of what had happened that summer. And then I found it, a small, nearly forgotten police report. After the campers had been sent home, officers conducted a search of the woods surrounding the camp. Deep in the forest, hidden among the trees, they found a tent. Inside were supplies, food, clothing, survival gear. But far more disturbing were the photographs. Hundreds of Polaroids spread across the makeshift campsite. Images of the cabins, the canoes, the fire pits. Pictures of campers taken from afar. Some were snapped from behind trees, others from the cover of darkness. The most horrifying ones were those captured through the cabin windows at night. Grainy, voyeuristic glimpses of sleeping children, completely unaware they were being watched. Police staked out the area, waiting for someone to return. No one ever did. The man was never caught. I don't know what his true intentions were. I don't know what would have happened if one of those doors had been unlocked. And worst of all, I don't know if he's still out there, somewhere watching, waiting for another camp full of unsuspecting kids to wander into his sights. Rescue, finally! With shaking hands, he grabbed his bright orange sleeping bag and ran into the open, waving it frantically. The plane came closer and closer, low and slow, circling his camp. McCunn could see the pilot looking right at him. He threw his fist into the air in victory, grinning ear to ear. The plane turned and kept going. McCunn watched, frozen in horror, as the aircraft flew away, disappearing over the horizon. It didn't land. It didn't stop. It didn't come back. McCunn sank to his knees, his scream swallowed by the endless sky. Why? He replayed the moment in his mind over and over. He had made eye contact with the pilot. The plane had seen him. So why had it left? That night, unable to sleep, McCunn dug through his things. He had read everything 1,000 times over, but he needed to distract himself. Then, his fingers brushed over something stiff, his hunting license. He had never read it carefully. His eyes scanned the words, numb and hollow, until they locked onto a small, chilling sentence. A single raised arm is the universal sign for I am okay. No assistance needed. To request rescue, both arms must be raised in a V formation. McCunn's vision blurred. His breath hitched in his throat. The pilot had seen his raised fist and assumed he was fine. The realization was a death sentence. The end of the line. The weeks that followed were pure torment. No more food, no more hope. The Arctic winter tightened its grip and his body wasted away. On November 26th, Thanksgiving Day, Carl McCunn lay in his tent, staring at the ceiling. There was no feast today, no warmth, no laughter, There was only the howling wind and the slow, creeping embrace of death. He picked up his journal and scribbled one final note. They say it doesn't hurt. Then, with the last of his strength, he reached for his rifle. Months later, in February of 1982, an Alaskan search party found Carl McCunn's frozen body inside his tent, a bullet hole in his head. Beside him, his journal. The last words of a man who had made one fatal mistake. The mistake that cost him his life. He had raised only one hand.